This episode of Dispatches from Planet Albany is brought to you with support by New York State United Teachers, which represents more than 600,000 educators and school-related professionals in New York. Dispatches is also supported by the public affairs firm O'Donnell and Associates. For more information, check out o'donnellsolutions.com.
I've also declared war on potholes, so here's the first shot across the bow.
Well, as you know, with Planet Albany, there's always something that makes the planet turn.
And it's this amazing view of D.C., and Eddie Vedder comes out. And he goes, "You have a cigarette?" And I've never smoked in my life, but if I had, I wish that was the moment.
And this strategy takes us from potholes to knotholes.
I would like to say it was a pleasure, Mr. Kim. But I'm on the road.
I'm David Lombardo, and this is Dispatches from Planet Albany, a podcast about power and politics in state government. And on this episode, we're checking in with now former Assemblymember D. Billy Jones, who gave up his seat this summer to become Vice President for Strategic Initiatives and Workforce Development at Clinton Community College. When I think about this decision you made to leave the Assembly, is it the case where you were ready to leave the Assembly and this job presented itself, or did this job opening make it maybe a little easier to give up the seat?
I think it was the case of, yes, having this job or having this opportunity made it a little easier to leave the Assembly. It wasn't an easy decision by any means. It was a difficult decision, but the right decision for me at this time. I had mentioned I wanted to spend more time with my daughter. I wanted to be closer to home. That's where it was at. The opportunity came up at the opportune time, if that's how I could say it. And this is something I really want to do. I want to get into workforce development. I've been involved in workforce development throughout my whole career, but this Institute for Advanced Manufacturing here at Clinton Community College has a lot of opportunity. And I really wanted to pursue this. Not an easy decision whatsoever. I will miss my time in the Assembly. Enjoyed serving the people of the 115th and working with my colleagues, but this was the right decision right now for me.
Well, in your time at the Assembly, which nearly a decade, taking office in 2017, what was maybe your favorite thing to do as an Assembly member? Was it stuff in the district? Was it stuff in Albany? What were the types of activities that you really relished having the opportunity to do?
I will say, honestly, just meeting a lot of fascinating people, sitting down with them, talking about their lives and talking about how they've maybe built up their business to where they are now.
Is that like a genuine thing? Because I think about myself, I interview a lot of people. I don't like a lot of people and don't necessarily want to hear from a lot of people. So is that just a unique trait that you and other politicians have to have, or at least be able to fake?
No, absolutely not. Obviously, in our jobs, there are all times where we're like, you know what, really, this is what we're doing again. But I will be perfectly honest in that I've had an opportunity to sit down with some fascinating people and having the discussions with them to hear about their life. And I'm talking about, some people that have done extraordinary things and have come and built something up and were able to help people along the way. I genuinely think that was probably one of my favorite things in this job. There were a lot of events that I like to go to, a lot of events where you're like, yeah, maybe not.
Another parade?
You feel you have to go to them. But once again, worked with a lot of amazing people, met a lot of wonderful people along the way. And it wasn't the actual going to Albany. It was the being in Albany and being away from home that started to wear on me.
Well, thinking about people and friendships that you might have developed since 2017, I imagine you might have a natural affinity for Democrats or even Republicans who you might have shared experiences with or have a similar political ideology to. But were there any people who maybe prior to joining the Assembly that you couldn't imagine yourself having developed a friendship with that you did, whether it's because they had a completely different background to you or maybe have a political ideology that is completely different from yours. Are there any friendships that might surprise listeners?
Absolutely. And I think a lot of, I think of my time being there, but uh, formed a lot of great relationships with people that I knew. But from day one, maybe day two, being in the assembly, some of my best friends, and still continue to be this day, are from complete opposite ends of the state. Um,
Anyone you want to name?
Maybe Bobby Carroll,
Okay.
a very liberal member from Park Slope, Brooklyn.
You both have
And
excellent hair, though, so that could be the unifying factor there. And we'll get to hair later on, but is that what you two bond over?
No, not at all.
Okay.
We just bonded over. It became a great friendship. Stacy Feframato, another person that maybe a guy from a farm boy from the North Country, you wouldn't think would hit it off. She's from Queens, Far Rockaway, Queens. Actually, the furthest south in the state you can get. I'm the furthest north in the state, but completely different backgrounds. But the three of us hit it off, and we were dear friends throughout my time there, and continue to be this day, and hopefully will be in the future. I think I had a reporter ask me about, it must be difficult representing, the North Country. People don't realize, from the city, what the rural aspect of this state is. And we have different and unique challenges. And I said, yeah, absolutely. And I tried to bring that to my colleagues. But on the other hand, to be a good colleague, you have to learn about where they came from and what their backgrounds were and what their neighborhoods were made up of. So I made it a point to do that with a lot of my colleagues, most of them, if I could, and just understanding where they came from and where I came from. I formed a lot of friendships with them. What's the old expression? To be a good friend, you have to be a friend. So I think a lot of that is learning what their districts are all about as well. So I tried to do that when I was in the assembly.
Despite all that, though, I know there were times where you must have been frustrated with the direction of the conference and what it might have prioritized, and whether that was stuff for your district that you felt might have not necessarily been in line with your district and what it might be the right fit for the 115th. And I'm curious whether you think that situation was something that got exacerbated during your time here from 2017 on, or whether you feel like that dynamic was always pretty steady during your 8+ years.
I don't think it's any secret. And to get, most of my tenure, my conference was made up of anywhere from 102 to 106 members, 107 members. You can't get those. You can't get all of us to agree on something all the time. But being one of the more moderate members, I guess, of the New York State Assembly or the Democrat Conference, yeah, you're going to have differences there. But did it get frustrating at times? Yeah, I'd be lying if I didn't say it did. But for the most part, I understood why our conference was going in a certain direction. And I would let my opinions be known and let the opinions of my constituents be known. Sometimes you win those battles, sometimes you don't.
Well, thinking of advocating for constituents, there is not a formal upstate Democratic conference, but I know there are informal discussions, there are text threads, and I'm curious whether you think that type of group, that type of coalition should be formalized in the assembly and specifically within the Democratic conference. Do you think that would matter and ultimately be beneficial to people in upstate?
I feel overall the speaker always listened to our concerns. And listen, I have plenty of my city colleagues that didn't feel that their issues got to the level where they think it could have. So we have a very large, diverse Democratic conference, and that's a lot of opinions and a lot of people that have issues in their districts to listen to. So I think we all had a voice there, and hopefully I was a good voice for the North Country.
For more than 100 years, the New York State Association of Counties has served as the united voice of New York's county leaders, fostering excellence in county government and advocating for sustainable funding and sensible legislation that protects local taxpayers and the essential services they rely on. Learn more at nysac.org. Assembly Speaker Carl Heastie, a Bronx Democrat, what was your relationship like, and did you bond over anything in particular? Were you close at all? I mean, what was that rapport like?
Yeah, I think we did have a great relationship, a close relationship. Like I said, he doesn't have an easy job.
Like herding cats.
Yeah, it is. It's like herding cats. And I'll put myself in that space, and he's got a lot going on, and he does not have an easy job. It's a very difficult job. We've had a lot of frank discussions in our conferences, and he's just trying to get, an opinion on how our conference can go. But no, Carl was great. He was great to work with. I was always under the mindset that I'm not going to go to him for everything. I'm not going to go to him for every little issue I have. I think he appreciated that more than not. So you go to the leader, you go to the boss when you have a real issue, and he tries to help you out. And that's what you want in a leader. And the only speaker that visited the North Country, my district, I think he came up here 9 times. We never had a speaker come and visit my area. And
can you imagine Shelley Silver, in Plattsburgh?
No, I don't. I didn't know Shelley very well. Just knew him from my previous life as a county ledge. But no, Carl gets out. He visits every district every year.
And he has a daughter who's just a little bit older than yours. I think she recently turned 16. Is that something you guys ever talked about?
Yeah, actually, when I got in, we did. I remember it was one of my first things, and one of my commercials with my daughter won some award or something, and they were showing it at this event we had, and he turned around and looked, and he was like, "Oh my goodness, that's great." And he was telling me about his daughter. He had a daughter as well, so I think that really hit him. And we also are both Dallas Cowboy fans. So,
well, nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, from your time coming into 2017 to now, did you have to recalibrate your expectations about what was possible as a member of the Assembly? For example, did you come in with guns ablazing and have visions of changing all sorts of stuff, and then sort of have to change your expectations, like, quickly, I guess?
Absolutely, and I think every member does. I think I'll give you an example. When you do get elected, everybody thinks their ideas are the best, and they have great ideas, and they do. There's a lot of great ideas there, but you think you're going to work and draft up a bill, and that it's going to be perfect, and it's just going to sail right through the committees and get on the floor and pass. And it's not that. What are there, 10,000 bills introduced every year? What do we pass? 700-800 in the Assembly.
Pass both houses.
Yeah, and then it's got to pass both houses to get the governor to sign. So yeah, obviously there's that, and I think every member going in has that. Like, I have this great idea. I'm just going to put it in a bill format. It's going to sail through, signed by the governor, and it's going to be a great thing. No, that's not how it happens. It takes a lot of work to get legislation through. It takes a lot of getting people to listen to you and to listen to that particular issue or that bill. Not only myself as a new member, but all new members kind of think that way. And reality can hit you awfully hard. But overall, I think once you realize that, you're in a better spot to maybe work with people and work on your legislation or your priorities to make sure they get through. Because there's no way that we can pass 10,000 plus bills every year.
Well, Linda Rosenthal's working on it. But do you try to then focus in areas where you can be more successful, like, say, bringing home the bacon, so to speak, and ensuring that we've got school aid that I can get that a Republican in the minority can't get, or I try to make sure we've got other grants coming here, and I've got other ways to influence government, maybe outside of the traditional legislative process.
Absolutely. And I think that, I know I made that a priority where, some pieces of my legislation couldn't get through, but I would concentrate on other things, right? And getting the resources that my district needs, I think was important. I think people will hopefully remember what I was able to do. As you said, bring home the bacon to various organizations, villages and towns and counties. And I did concentrate a lot on that because I knew what and where my abilities were and where I could help. And certainly being in the majority, there's no doubt about it. Well, as you know, the only one in the North Country. And I can honestly say I was able to bring home a lot of resources that maybe other people couldn't or haven't been able to.
Well, on that point, I'm thinking about the special election to fill your seat. Would you tell the Democrats to basically say, remind voters that if they want to have money for a park, vote for the Democrat, because regardless of what, your party affiliation might be, if you want to get money, vote for the majority member. Is that too cynical of a campaign speech to give, or do you think it doesn't resonate with people, or does that potentially get through to people?
Sometimes it doesn't resonate with people because people do have an ideological belief, right? And they're just not. I think you meant to say, should you tell Republicans that? Yeah.
Well, should you tell the Democrats to campaign this way? Just be like,
to campaign that way. I will say, and I actually campaigned in my first election back in 2016, and I was like, well, you're going to have somebody in the majority there, and yada yada yada. And to tell you the truth, I didn't realize, how important it was to have somebody in the majority there. Mm-hmm. But I would say I wouldn't shy away from that if I were the Democrat candidate. And I think a lot of people in this area have realized that, but a certain amount of people probably either it doesn't matter to them or they might not realize that. But I think it all comes down to the candidate. I think it comes down to how you present yourself to the people at this level. It still does matter. The person still does matter. And I would tell them just to go out and hit the bricks, so to speak, go to everything you can, talk to the people, talk with the people, not at the people. Certainly. I think people in the North Country appreciate that. And sure, if you want to say, hey, this is what I think I can do, and the advantages that it would be to have a majority member in there, I wouldn't shy away from that. Let me tell you that.
Well, clearly, your political ideology, I think you described yourself as a moderate, I would say maybe a conservative Democrat, is...
Oh, really? You're going to say conservative Democrat again?
I'd say moderate in the chamber, conservative Democrat, though, is definitely in line with the way the 115th Assembly District thinks, but it doesn't necessarily explain how you had multiple elections with no challenger. And when you did have a challenger, you won in a district that previously had a GOP representative. So what was that about? Because it seems like it's more than just voters who appreciated your stance and maybe felt some affinity to you. What was it that made you so successful and, in some cases, scaring Republicans away from even running?
Listen, my team and I, from day one, we put in the work. I went to everything I could. My schedule was packed 7 days a week. We went out there. Anything we could do to help people, I would say constituent services, huge on that. My team did a great job on the issues that were brought before them. When I first started out, constituent services can be a rough game, right? People are calling, sometimes not having their best day, but I always told my staff, no matter what the issue was, no matter what the problem was, if they're calling this office or they're, talking to us on the street, that's the most important thing that's the most important thing in their lives at that moment. We should treat that very serious. And I think that was part of it, but basically just work, getting out, meeting everyone, going to any event, going to anything I could. I was known for getting out and just really working my butt off. So that might be one of the reasons.
And how often did you drag your daughter to things, and did that become more difficult as she, transitions to like preteen right now?
No doubt about it. And that's, as I had mentioned previously, that's one of the reasons that it was time to step away a little bit. She was a good partner, a good soldier, and all of this. I've been involved in politics. I have a picture of her over there, since she was a baby. Sworn into the Franklin County Legislature as a chair when she was born. But that gets tougher. It really does. And most weekends we were on the road, we were traveling places, and it certainly does get tougher as she got into her preteen days. And I'd say we're already at the teenage years, David. So, but she was great. She was there with me all the time. But I think it's time to really spend some quality time with each other.
You noted that you are the only Democrat elected to a state office in the North Country, and given that backdrop, I'm curious, considering you overlapped this entire time with Republican Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, how close did you ever get in the past to running for Congress?
I think the closest was, or I know the closest was this beginning of this year when, obviously everyone in the district, everyone in the country, I guess, thought there would be an opening for the CD21. And there was a lot of shuffling going on and asking, and I was asked several times to run, and I did put
Who was the most important person to ask you to run? What was the most high profile Democrat?
I'm not gonna. I don't know if I could. No, I'm not gonna.
Was it Hakeem Jeffries?
I'm not gonna name anyone that.
So it was Hakeem Jeffries.
No,
You didn't talk to Hakeem Jeffries.
No.
Did Governor Hochul say, "Hey, D. Billy, I really need you to stick the screws to the Republicans"?
We're not going down that road.
Okay.
Ultimately, the decision for me was not to run, and even before what I announced I wasn't running, I think I announced fairly early on. There was a couple months that went by,
and I predicted that.
Well, that's an easier prediction than predicting that there wouldn't be an opening.
No, that I did not see until it became clear that the math was not great for Republicans if they wanted to pass bills on a regular basis through that house.
Yeah, and you always thought there was you always thought there was some, the timing and everything. What was the timing going to be? Mm-hmm. But I personally didn't think. I thought there would be a special election at some point when they got their when Republicans got their bills through. I didn't see the pulling of the nomination. No.
So you and I have talked in the past about how I admire your hair. I think former Senator John Edwards would be proud of that look you rock so consistently. With your departure, what lawmaker picks up the mantle as best hair in the legislature?
I was going to ask you that because I know our friend Ken Zabrowski, he was on last year when he was getting done.
Former Assembly member, yep.
Yes, you had brought that up, and he thought he might be in the running for best hair, but you I believe you corrected him on that. So I don't know. I mean, I leave that up to you, but I think I can be proud of I think it was maybe 7, 8, 9 years running that I was in the top of the at the top of the tier on that. So, and I still tell people that David Lombardo says I had the best hair in the New York State legislature. So I'm still going to wear that. You never made me a nice little plaque though.
Well, I wanted to keep you on your toes, but did anyone else ever talk about your hair, or was I on an island?
Well, there's been some discussion. Yeah, some discussion.
Internally among your colleagues, or who?
I think it's sometimes it was a topic of discussion in the district and in the legislature. Yes.
Do you think with this transition that you will never run for political office again? Because we're in a dynamic where our current president and our last president did serve or will serve into their 80s. Thinking ahead to a decade from now, you'll be 60, so young by comparison. So do you think that there is a political future for yourself, or is that something that you're officially, permanently closing the door on?
I would never close the door on any opportunities that came up, but right now, and I can't foresee me getting back into it, but I don't think you should ever close the door on anything. And going, beyond that, I always said to myself, I would not be one of those old men, whatever you consider old now, I guess, going schlepping into the assembly and going to Albany. I wouldn't do that. And I guess I'm not doing that, but never close the door on anything. But I would say there's no plans to get back into it.
Well, we've been speaking with former Assemblymember D. Billy Jones. He is a Vice President for Strategic Initiatives and Workforce Development at Clinton Community College, leading their Institute for Advanced Manufacturing. D. Billy Jones, thank you so much for making the time.
Hey, great talking to you again, David. It's always been a pleasure, and I want to thank you for all the great discussions we have had over the years. So it's been a pleasure.
Well, I'll still blow up your cell phone with text messages once in a while. You can become a good anonymous source commenting on, the legislature for me, helping my understanding. Everything we didn't get to today.
I'm not going to be on the inside of that, but you can text me about some of the things that you find interesting when you do travel to the North Country. You still have my beer koozie?
I do, but here's the problem. I replaced my water bottle, so it's too big for this. This is a collector's item now.